the Vote virtual bus tour stop in South Florida featuring Jill Biden. And now, please welcome Representative Frederica Wilson.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, but until November 3rd, I will be known as Frederica Vote Before Election Day Wilson, by mail or in person, but before Election Day. Are you fired up? Are you ready to turn up and turn out the vote? Well, I am. We have a responsibility to turn this nation blue, Florida, in November. Royal blue, navy blue, baby blue, powder blue, midnight blue, whatever shade you choose. We've got to turn this nation blue. There's a movement in this country and we have to keep it going. We will not accept any more of Trump and his Republican Party's racist, xenophobic, and misogynistic agenda. The people are marching in the streets. They're angry. They're demanding change. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will lead our country out of chaos, out of discord, dysfunction, and destabilization. I am tired of bearing Black men murdered by the police. It's time for a change. And it's not just the White House that's at stake. We need to take back the Senate and destroy Mitch McConnell's self-described graveyard, where all House bills have been buried. There is so much at stake. What happens between early voting and Election Day is very much up to us, Democratic Black voters, African Americans. Remember, you are voting out a man who's already been impeached by the House of Representatives. We have a responsibility to do what the Senate failed to do. We must remove him from office before he destroys our democracy with lies, deceit, and corruption. So vote. The elephant in the room is foreign interference. So we've got to outvote Russia, outvote voter suppression, outvote Twitter, outvote Instagram, outvote Facebook. We have less than 2 months to get it right. You've got to get out and vote early, before Election Day. Every Democrat in Florida should have already voted. We have 2 weeks of early voting, 2 Saturdays, 2 Sundays. Vote before Election Day. We can win if we all do our part. Trump won Florida in 2016 by 113,000 votes. In Miami, 379,000 Black voters stayed home on Election Day. Biden and Harris will build back the economy in Black communities. They will increase access to capital to minority-owned businesses. Trump asked us, what do you have to lose? It's now clear we risk losing everything. We risk losing everything in Trump's America. This is our time. This is our country, and we're taking it back. I'm urging you to vote by mail in Florida. It is so easy. If you do it now, if you do not trust the mail, because of all the misinformation, you could drop your ballots into a drop box all over your community. If you must go to the polls, go before Election Day and don't go alone. If you have a sports car, take 1 person with you. If you have a sedan, take 4 people. If you have a van, pick up 8 people, but never go to the polls alone. And as for my fellow teachers out there, when Trump goes, so does Betsy DeVos, who has shown us that he is out to destroy public education. She and Barr, Ivanka and Jared and Miller and all the president's men will be running down Black Lives Plaza from November 3rd with their bags packed and their heads hanging down. If we do what we have to do. So we need to vote. We've got to turn up and turn out the vote. Welcome to South Florida, welcome to Miami, and welcome to a very, very special person, a woman after my own heart, an educator. I am so happy to have you here. She is a woman who was the only second lady to teach classes. While she was the second lady of the United States of America, educators, she continued to teach classes. She's always fought for our kids and our families. She knows the value of good public education, and we love her. Joe Biden picked a good one when he married a teacher and educator. Welcome to South Florida. Next First Lady, Jill Biden. Let's give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you, Representative Wilson. And I'm glad I wore the right color today, a navy blue. Gosh, I'm so excited to join a fellow educator, especially a former principal who knows firsthand how powerful our schools can be for our students and our communities. Your continued passion for education in Congress, as well as founding the 5,000 role models of excellent projects, is an example for all of us. And we're so grateful to have you on our team. Over these last few years, so many Americans have talked to me about what keeps them up at night. And they're worried about paying for their prescriptions, working multiple jobs to cover their bills, scared that a shooting could happen at their child's school, and angry about the persistent racism and bigotry that are tearing our communities apart. And now, with 200,000 Americans gone and millions of jobs lost, a crisis that has disproportionately hit Black and brown communities, they are asking, what if I lose my job? How do I keep my family safe? How will this all end? These aren't Democratic or Republican issues. They are American issues, and we're all feeling it. The chaos of this moment, the uncertainty. It can be easy to watch what is happening and feel so discouraged. But for the next 42 days, we don't have to watch what happens. We have to decide what happens. Joe has a plan and the tested experience we need to end this pandemic. He has the empathy and character to bring us back together and heal our fractured communities. He has the fortitude to help us rebuild better than ever. With his steady leadership, we can change the course of our future. So just for a moment, I want to take you there. So I want you to pretend it's November 4th, the day after the election. You wake up and it's a beautiful morning like this morning. Maybe you stayed up too late watching the returns, so you pour yourself a cup of coffee. At first, you start to worry about your day, getting all of your protective gear ready for your frontline job, or making sure that everyone in your family can log into school and meetings at the right times. And it hits you that pretty soon there will be a nationwide strategy to end this pandemic. And when you go out to get your mail, you think about your neighbor whose small business is struggling. And you realize that our next president led the recovery program after the 2008 recession. And he knows how powerful investing in African-American entrepreneurs and businesses can be. You go to check the news and you notice, hey, there's no pit in your stomach. Your shoulders don't tense. You're not dreading what's going on in this world. Instead, you sit a little taller, knowing that our next commander-in-chief will bring out the best in us. In that moment, you smile, thinking about everything we're going to do together. We're going to tackle this climate crisis, make sure everyone can get affordable, quality health care, keep our streets and our people safe, no matter their race or zip code. And finally, someone is going to be standing up to the NRA. And when you think about President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, you feel proud. And for the first time in so long, you take a deep breath and feel hope. That's the November 4th I want. And I know that you do too. And in this moment, we We have the power to decide what comes next. Now, I know this group is incredibly engaged, and I know you are busy and probably stretched too thin. But I'm going to ask you to do more, because this election is too important to sit on the sidelines. All of us have to do what we can for the next 42 days, because this is it. There are no do-overs. This is our last shot to wake up November 4th and feel that hope. So join us. Go to iwillvote.com to make sure that you're registered and make a plan to vote. Help your friends and your family check their registration as well. And then get involved at joebiden.com/join. 42 days. 42 days to make sure our voices are heard, to make calls and talk to our friends, to fight like we've never fought before for this country that we love so much. Let's wake up November 4th knowing that we did everything we could to feel that hope, to breathe that freely again. This is our moment. This is our election. This is our nation, and we will choose our future together. So let's get to work, Florida. I'm counting on you.
Let's give our first lady, our second lady, about to be our first lady, a round of applause. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Jill Biden.
Thank you.
Dr. Biden. Thank
We
you.
love you in Florida. We can't get enough of you. Every time you come, our voters are so enthused. So thank you so much. We can't wait to have your leadership in the White House.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And we want to continue to ask you to continue your great fight for racial justice and lifting up all of our families, including, especially our Black families. Thank you so much. And we want to continue this conversation that you've kicked off with such fervor. And I'd like to introduce myself formally. I'm Karen Andre, Senior Advisor for the #1 battleground state that's going to take Joe Biden and Dr. Biden to the White House. I'm excited to kick off an important discussion with distinguished Black leaders from across South Florida about Joe Biden's plans to build back better for Black America. And now I'd like to recognize each of our panelists. First, starting off with my forever boss, the Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, who will be speaking on matters across the spectrum that are impacting our communities. Welcome, Congresswoman Wilson. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for that beautiful introduction of our soon-to-be First Lady.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Karen. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
Thank you. Love you more. And next, I call him one of the kings of the kings of political comedy, State Senator Perry Thurston, who is not only a fearless legislator, but he is an amazing jokester that keeps us having some levities as we fight the good fight. He's going to join the panel today and bring the lens about racial justice, not only from his standpoint as a legislator, but as an attorney and grounded civic servant so long in the Broward area. So thank you and welcome, Senator Thurston.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for allowing me to serve with such a dynamic panel, especially my Congresswoman, Frederica Wilson.
She's mine first, Senator. I'll fight you for her, okay? All right, moving right along. State Senator Bobby Powell is with us this afternoon. Welcome, Senator Powell, and thank you for joining us today. I know you're going to be bringing us perspective discussing the economy, jobs, and business, correct?
That is correct, Karen. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be on this wonderful panel. As a state senator who also represents Palm Beach County and the chairman of the Florida Legislative Black Caucus, who brings a unique perspective as the only certified urban planner in the legislature, I'm excited to be able to bring ideas and to discuss the policies to build back better with the economy in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for being with us this afternoon. We're looking forward to the discussion. And next, we have State Representative Dottie Joseph that's going to discuss the perspective from many of her constituents, which are immigrants in the Miami-Dade area, and also discuss the campaign's work in the local area and how Biden for President policies on social justice, jobs and immigration, and other issues can impact us all in the African-American and Black communities, Caribbean and Haitian communities as well. And nonetheless, and last but certainly not least, a fighter. You see the lion behind her on her wall. Our fighter from Broward, State Representative Anika Omfroy is here, and she's going to be focusing on women's rights and women's healthcare issues and women's concerns overall. So without further ado, I'm sorry, let me first say hello to Representative Joseph. Let her say hello, and then we'll go back to Representative Omfroy. Welcome, Representative Joseph.
Thank you very much, Karen. It is a pleasure and privilege to be here. Again, I'm fighting y'all for my Congresswoman, but I'm okay to share. And we're excited to talk about this because there's a stark difference between the candidates. So I'm ready to rumble. Let's go.
All right. And now the lioness with the lion behind her there is Representative Anika Omfroy. Welcome, Representative.
Thank you so very much, Special Advisor Andre. It's a pleasure to be with everyone today. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, it's an honor to be on the panel with you. And Senator and Chair, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I'm looking forward to fighting on behalf of our state for our new president, President Biden, and our new Vice President, Senator Kamala Harris. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And again, welcome everyone. So let's kick off the discussion here. The Congresswoman, I know that there are so many issues that you're passionate about as a lifelong educator, civic servant, have been mobilizing from when you were a principal all the way to school board, state house, state senate, and now Congress. So what would you like to share in terms of your viewpoint about the fight for the soul of America that we're in now? What's first and foremost on your mind that you'd like the public to know?
Well, first of all, I don't want anyone within my listening voice to forget that in 2016, President Trump asked Black Americans what they had to lose. What do you have to lose? That's what he said. So please remember, can't say it enough. It is now clear. We risk losing everything we've ever gained right now under the Trump administration. We have lost so much. Black men has doubled in a staggering 1.4 million in unemployment. 1.4 million people are unemployed. 29% among young Black men, which is where my heart is. 40% of Black small business owners will be forced to lay off employees or cut their wages. He attacks Obamacare and undermines all efforts to tear that law up. And that's going to leave millions of Black folks without health insurance in the middle of a deadly pandemic. President Trump's sheer incompetence and a failure to listen to science and experts has resulted in more Black people contracting and dying from the coronavirus than any other group in the country. And that's a disgrace. Trump inflames racial violence and divides the nation. He denigrates and villainizes and ridicules our leaders, our athletes, and protesters when they stand up for Black lives, for Black Lives Matter. 4 of 11 people must turn out, everybody must turn out to vote on this CBC bus tour in South Florida, because we have to empower Black America. Biden-Harris will build back the economy better with historic investments in Black communities. And we have to remember that. So I say to all of my wonderful colleagues on the panel with me, welcome. Welcome to this fight. We've got to throw down. We know how to fight in South Florida. We have to throw down and get ready. And we've got to turn out and turn up. And I want all of us listening to make a vow that we're going to vote before Election Day. So on Election Day, the polls will be empty because all of South Florida, Black Florida, will have voted either by mail or by early vote. Can I get an amen? This is Frederica Wilson.
Congresswoman, will you say a little bit about that, about mailing and early voting? I know you're very passionate about vote from home. So what would you like to say there?
I would like for everyone to know that in Florida, we are so lucky because we have a vote by mail, vote from home, vote absentee law that is so easy. You don't need an excuse. You just call the elections department. You have them send you a vote by mail application, fill it out, send it back. When it's time, the ballots are going to start coming to you at the end of September. You go from top to bottom, vote Democrat all the way down. Don't stop. Don't wait. Drop it in the mail. Go to my website and I will tell you how to vote on all of the amendments to the Constitution. So don't say that, oh, I have to wait and find out how to. No, go to my website. I will show you how to vote on these amendments and then you vote. Then if you just have to go to the polls, then go during early voting.
Congresswoman, what's that website you'd like to share?
FredericaWilson.com.
Perfect. And if people want additional information on how to vote, both to register, they can go to iwillvote.com. We're going to have a segment after the panelist discussion about voter protection. But thank you, Congresswoman. Building, and please don't leave, building on what you said, I wanted to bring in Senator Thurston. You talked a lot about racial justice. And so Senator Thurston, what are your thoughts about what the Congresswoman laid out? How we fared in the last 4 years since we were told, what do you have to lose? Have we lost something? Have we gained anything in the racial justice lane? What say you?
We've lost a lot. Thank you for having me, but we're going to gain it all back. I want you to know that the Congresswoman talked about being ready to fight the fight. And we're ready to fight the fight here in Democratic rich Broward County. Politics is a contact sport, and we're ready for the contact. In fact, we say bring it on, because it's going to be a battle, but we're ready for that battle. And as my Congresswoman say, we're fired up in Broward County. Racial injustice has rightfully come to the center of our national conversation. We're seeing a reckoning of racial justice and the tragic human cost of systematic racism in the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many other Black men and women and children. Our country is reeling in anguish and anger over the systematic racism that still affects every part of our society. Seeing what happened to Jacob Taylor, like our Vice President said, these shots pierced the soul of our nation. But now is the time for real leadership that Vice President Biden is going to provide. Vice President Biden believes we cannot build back better, which is what we're going to do, build back better. But we can't do it without addressing the challenges facing our communities and advancing racial equity across our community and across America. President Trump has done absolutely nothing these last 4 years. If he did anything, what he did was further divide us, which is his goal, to divide our country. Does anyone truly believe that Donald Trump's election will make America less violent? I don't think so at all. He continues to fan the flames of division and encourages chaos in our cities rather than trying to calm the tension and heal this country. He's got to go. This has to be a wake-up call for our nation and call to action. It's past time to fully confront systematic racism, to end our growing economic inequality, to deal with the denial of our nation's promises to so many for so long. As President Joe Biden will fight every day to lead those changes, and he'll listen. More importantly, he'll listen to our community, Karen, and we're looking forward to that. He's laid out the key steps that Congress should take immediately with real police reform, to hold cops to higher standards, standards that so many of them already meet. So we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to changes. We're looking forward to building back Broward, and building back our community. And again, Senator Harris and Joe Biden know we cannot do it without addressing the challenges facing our communities and without advancing racial equity.
Senator, I wanted to ask you on that very, very thorough readout that you gave about racial justice under a Donald Trump administration. Do you think that he and his ilk, the very fine people he referred to as the folks with tiki torches in Charlottesville, do you think they'll be more or less emboldened with a second Donald Trump term in office? What do you think it would look like if they've been emboldened these last 4 years?
I think a Donald Trump presidency where he's not worried about re-election would be the worst thing that this country has ever seen. I don't know if our democracy can withstand 4 more years of Donald Trump. I certainly know our position across the world will be affected by it, as it has been affected right now. We're not looked to for leadership because people think we've got to be crazy to have elected someone like this gentleman. So it's time for him to go. He has damaged our reputation across the nation. And as Congresswoman Frederica Wilson said, he and all of his cronies and Miller and all of the attorney general, all of them, it's time for them to go. And guess what? In Broward County, we're going to send them packing.
Amen. All right. Now we're counting on it. So now,
Absolutely.
All right, Senator, he's fired up. Look, he's all mad. Look at him. Senator, we're going to take it over to Palm Beach really quick. I'd like to ask from an economics and a job and a business perspective, Senator Powell, how are we doing? Are we better off these last 4 years? Has he drained the swamp? Are things looking good and right for Black America? Tell us what it's looking like from your perspective.
You know, Karen, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. I was recently on a show called To the Point where somebody hit the counterpoint that Black people in America are doing better under this president than ever before, and record numbers of jobs. And for the most part, most Black people I know are working 3 jobs, not just 2, 3 jobs to try to keep up. They're not able to see their kids. They're not able to really deal with their family, and they're just trying to make ends meet. What we've seen is that this coronavirus pandemic has really exacerbated not only the jobs front, but also the existing racial disparities that we've seen in the economy and the opportunities that we've seen across this country. Most of those opportunities have been erased. We've seen under President 45, Trump, the unemployment rate in Florida has skyrocketed. You have over 1 million people still haven't received a claim, and over 200 days that this has been going on here in the state of Florida. We've seen unemployment at higher rates than it was during the Great Recession. And that's under the current president. This is under this administration, the America that we live in. Millions of people have lost jobs, they've lost health care, and a lot of small businesses that were started have closed their doors, not only temporarily, but for good. And that's under this broken administration with a broken unemployment system, a broken governor, a broken president. The nation right now under this president, under this administration, is broken. But what we do know, we have an opportunity to be optimistic. We know that Joe Biden understands that we must restart our economy. We must build back better. We can't afford to return to the status quo that we've been in existence over the last several years, with the deepening inequality and the gaps in wealth that we've continued to see that especially hurt the Black and brown communities. What we've seen is record. When we talk about a wealth gap, it's a record wealth gap between Blacks and the rest of the nation in terms of home ownership, in terms of how we build wealth. It's 10 times. Black wealth is 10 times less than that of our white counterparts. And that's what happens under this administration. We do know that under Joe Biden, we have the opportunity. He will invest in the Black community. And it is time to invest in the Black community, to invest in working people. We don't need to have people working 3 and 4 jobs to try to make ends meet. What we're missing out on is the thing that we don't have infinite amounts of, and that's time to spend with your family. We're seeing people commit suicide. We've seen so many health disparities develop under this administration. But Joe Biden believes in an economy where every American enjoys a fair return for their work and has an equal chance to get ahead. An economy that's more vibrant, an economy that's more powerful, and precisely because it will include everybody, an America that everyone can share in, not a divided states of America, but once again, a united states of America. So Joe Biden's plan covers everything from infrastructure to housing to education, those things that are most important to us. If you want to put people on equal footing, you give them an equal chance to live and to survive. That's what we're looking for under the Joe Biden administration. We've seen this. We know that experts say that right now, we can draw $150 billion to small businesses of color. What we recently saw under the CARES Act was that many small businesses and businesses of color did not get the funding. Who was funded? Who was rewarded? Those conglomerates, those major companies that did not need the money or did not need the funding. Things have got to change, and they will not change under the current administration. That's why you heard Congresswoman Frederica Wilson say we're here to fight. That's why you heard Senator Thurston talk about what's going on in Trump's America, not Joe Biden's America. And the only way we will change this is under a new administration. Enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
I love that, Senator. I think a lot of the things that you were referencing, and I can tell you've read the Lift Every Voice plan that Joe Biden has for Black America. Many of those data points about investment in small businesses, investment in capital and credit for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and building back from multiple standpoints are in the Lift Every Voice plan for Black America, and then are part of the larger Build Back Better plan for all of America. So I encourage all the viewers to go to joebiden.com, and thank you, Senator, for reading out those very important statistics and grounding us in the truth of what's happening. And now, building upon that, you touched a little bit about healthcare. You talked a little bit about the rampant unemployment that's happening in this state, because we know we have a governor that's marching to the drum and the dictates of number 45, as you mentioned him. Can we talk a little bit about healthcare and bring in Representative Omfroy to talk about what you're hearing from your constituents and on the ground about healthcare and how women are faring in Donald Trump's 4-year administration? Are we doing better?
Definitely not doing better. We're actually under attack. It was interesting to listen to my colleagues give their perspective on where America is currently. Women have always faced too many obstacles in this country. Women of color have it extremely hard. Joe Biden will build our country back better after this economic crisis called President Trump. And that includes ensuring we get closer to full inclusion and equality for women. Women are under attack in this country. Women's health care and economic security is under attack on a daily basis here. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will fight for equal pay, access to health care, reproductive rights, including uterine fibroids awareness, to end the violence against women and representation at all levels of our society. As he chose Senator Harris as his running mate, I knew that we were on the right path to make sure that women were at the forefront of every conversation. Joe and Kamala will improve economic security by fighting for equal pay, investing in women-owned small businesses, expanding access to education and training, and strengthening pay and benefits in careers disproportionately filled by women. We are the backbone of this country. And without this kind of support, we're in trouble as a country. Expanding access to healthcare and tackling health inequalities, they'll work to reduce our national unacceptably high Black maternal mortality rate. This hits me heavily because I think that it is important to mention that Senator Harris this year proposed the Uterine Fibroids Research and Education Act that would help us put in place research on some of the things that affect women and women's uterine health in the Black community. So I'm super excited to have her become our next vice president. African-American women are 2.5 times more likely to die from pregnancy complications than our white counterparts. And he'll fight to end the environmental injustices that have cost us so many jobs within our community. Help women navigate work and family by expanding access to affordable health care, child care, care for seniors and people with disabilities, providing paid leave and ensuring fair and flexible work schedules. As we saw with our lovely Dr. Jill Biden, it can be done. We just need additional support to ensure that women have a fair playing field. Ending violence against women, continuing Joe's leadership on the issues since he authorized the Violence Against Women's Act in 1994. That act ensured that I had a better playing field to walk into the life that I currently have as a state representative in Florida. Joe stands with women, and so we need to stand with him on election day. I'm asking, just like our lovely Congresswoman from the South Florida, who represents part of Broward County and Miami-Dade said, we need you to vote early. September 24th, these ballots drop. You can go to your Broward Supervisor of Elections office after you fill it out on that day and drop it off. They are ready, waiting to accept your ballot. We need you to vote now. We need you to vote for the urgency of your own life, your self-security. Let's get it done. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to participate.
Fantastic. Thank you, Representative. Thank you so much. And I couldn't agree more. Yes, Vice President Biden is the author of the Violence Against Women Act. And I remind you all that one of the first, if not the first piece of legislation passed or introduced by the Obama-Biden administration was the Lilly Ledbetter Act, which was designed to close the gap between pay between men and women. So that is nothing that is new to the Vice President. And obviously he kept his word to America to choose a woman to be his running mate, an exceptional woman that we know the two of them will be ready on day one without a learning curve, ready to hit the ground running. They both have executive careers that span miles and before them. So we're excited about what's to come. And thank you for those very powerful remarks about women and healthcare. You'd like to add something?
I have one more thing to say. He also chose a Caribbean American woman who went to an HBCU. Let's not forget that. Went to an HBCU. I'm Jamaican American. She happens to be Jamaican American. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Drop the mic, Rep. You had to put it in there. All the Jamaicans, they could not resist. It's okay. We're all proud. The D9 family is proud. The HBCU family is proud. The Caribbean mass of them, we're all proud. It's one big happy banner family having Senator Kamala Harris on the ticket. And so speaking of the Caribbean massive, speaking of those of us who hail from some of the islands, I'd like to go to our next fearless representative with us today as part of the panel. She's going to bring a perspective to talk about how our immigrant communities are faring and how her constituents and many of our brothers and sisters who are either working, in the shadows, working in the labor sector, how they're faring in a Donald Trump 4 years, and what she thinks will be to come if we elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and if we don't. So I think we still have Representative Dottie Joseph with us.
Yes, I'm on. For some reason, my video won't start.
It'll be back shortly. We can listen to your voice. There you go. All right.
All right, here we go. So before I jump into that, since you mentioned the Lilly Ledbetter Act, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the work that she did around equal justice and equality for women. And that's a legacy that Joe Biden carries on. And Kamala Harris is right there with him. So, I sponsored legislation in the Florida House to get equal rights for women. And I'm telling you guys, it makes a difference who's in power, because when we have people in power who get the issues that most people get, that's nonpartisan, like Democrats, Republicans, no party affiliates, all of us supported over 90%, but the folks in charge don't want to make it happen in Florida. So I'm telling you, it makes a difference who's in charge. So moving right along to immigration issues, Joe and Kamala understand that this country was built on immigrants, our energy, ideas, aspirations, and hard work. And the reality is, unless you're a Native American, you're an immigrant anyway, in one way, shape, form, or fashion. The question is, how did you get here, and what kind of policies helped you get here, helped you stay here, encourage you to come, or discourage you from coming? So it's past time for our broken immigration system to be reformed. And one candidate gets it and the other one does not. So on the one hand, the current occupant of the White House isn't interested in solving the border crisis. He uses it as a politic to rile up his base. On the other hand, you have a candidate who does get these issues. So the current occupant will also be ripping babies from their mother's arms, or blocking Black and brown immigrants, or targeting Muslims to exclude them from being welcomed in our country, which is quite frankly un-American. Joe and Kamala will keep family reunification and diversity policies that are the pillars of our immigration system. On day one, they will take urgent action to, number one, end the cruel and inhumane border policies that separate children from their families. Number two, protect dreamers and their families, recognizing them as the Americans that they are. And then let's talk about TPS. We've got some recent court decisions that just came down taking away TPS from folks from Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Sudan. But we also have that's going to be impacting the Haitian community. In addition to the Haitian community, you have one group, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are fighting for TPS for Venezuelans, and another group that's seeking to block it. It cannot be more stark. So pay attention when people are giving you lip service of what they claim they want to do for you versus what their actions are telling you that they are doing or not doing for you, and actually doing specifically to harm you. We will reverse the terrible public charge rule, which is, in my opinion, quite frankly, unconstitutional. How do you tell people that who've already been getting services, all of a sudden you're not going to qualify for citizenship, but you didn't know that when you started? That's just unfair. Anyhow, he'll send real legislative immigration reform to Congress with a roadmap to citizenship for nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants who already make strong community contributions financially and otherwise to this America, that make this America great. Joe will also improve the economic status of working people, middle class, and immigrants alike, right? So whether we're talking about growing our economy to boost the opportunities for immigration, but also just like basic stuff. You mentioned his plan targeting Black America. Let me just highlight just a few of those because we want to talk about money. Senator Powell, chairman of our Black Caucus, also mentioned this, but let me talk about the money. So one of the things that he prioritizes is shrinking the homeownership gap between Black and white folks, okay? With an advanceable tax credit of up to $15,000 that you can take at purchase, not when you have to wait for your filing of your taxes. How many people could take advantage of that? He wants to put together and establish $100 billion affordable housing fund. That's like, I don't know where you guys live, but we got an affordable housing crisis going on. So that's real talk. So I just wanted to highlight these things because these are things that are important to our community. And you have to tune out the noise because we know the Russian bots and all those folks are coming and we need to be laser focused. Today is National Voter Registration Day. Please register to vote. IWillVote.com.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you for that important call to action, that advocacy that you do and continue to do on behalf of your constituents who from around the world. And we are reminded that the Ninth Circuit Court just did rule that the current occupant of the White House can end humanitarian protection for those 4 groups that you impacted, which will affect up to 300,000 people. And so it couldn't be the contrast between a Donald Trump continuation and a Biden Harris reset the contrast couldn't be more stark. I'd like to thank our panelists, the esteemed Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, our esteemed State Senator Perry Thurston, our esteemed Chairman, Senator Bobby Powell, yourself, Representative Joseph, and obviously as well, Representative Anika Omfroy for a stellar call to action to the community. And thank you all for your advocacy and your leadership. And we will see you on the fighting field, on the battlegrounds. And now we're going to talk about the next portion of the fight to win Florida and turn Florida blue is the voter protection. We have to turn out the vote, but then we got to protect the vote. So next we're going to have a panel discussion between the Reverend Dr. Alphonso Jackson Sr. and Brandon Peters, our co-director of voter protection for the state of Florida. I turn it over to you two gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Hello, Brandon. This is Pastor Jackson. Are you there?
Pastor. Yes, sir. How are you today, sir? Really good to see you. And
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's good to be on with you. And we've been, as Congresswoman Wilson said, we're turned up and ready to turn out. I'm Pastor Alphonso Jackson. I pastor in the South Dade area of Miami, and been pastoring for over 35 years now. And I've never seen an election like this, and so much at stake and on the line. And there are just a few questions, Brandon, that I have been tasked to ask you to bring clarity for us, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. And while we're here, I'd just like to thank the Congressional Black Caucus for hosting this event. I'd like to welcome Dr. Jill Biden back to Florida, and thank all of the legislators who are here. I'm humbled to be in such distinguished company, and I'm pleased to be here with you today, Reverend. Many people don't know, but for all you rattlers out there, I used to be a law professor at Florida A&M University College of Law. So today I get to put on the student hat, and Reverend gets to be the professor, and I get to answer his questions. So fire away, sir.
Okay, we won't hold that rattler thing against you. We're certainly hurricanes on this end of town. But first,
I never heard of them.
First of all, they want to know, inquiring mind wants to know, when is the deadline to register? And if I'm not registered, is it too late, or how can I register?
So the deadline is October the 5th, and people can register online, or they can register with a paper voter registration form. They need to return the form either by mail to the supervisor of elections in their county, or they can turn it into the supervisor's office in person.
Great, great. Okay, how do I request a vote by mail ballot, and how do I submit it? We've heard a lot about that of late, but how do I get one, and how do I submit it?
It's really easy. You can call the supervisor of elections in your county, or you can email a request to the supervisor, or you can fax a request to the supervisor, or you can just walk in. If you want to know how to do these things, just go to iwillvote.com/FL. And you can also call the voter protection hotline. We answer all questions having to do with voting, and that number is 833-VOTE-FLA, and we will help you register to vote today.
Hey, for someone that's writing it down, could you give us that iwillvote.com again? Would you say that, and then the number again, please?
Yes, sir. iwillvote.com/FL for Florida. iwillvote.com/FL. And then the voter protection hotline is 833-VOTE-FLA. 833-VOTE-FLA. And we can help you either way. Get registered. It's real easy.
Great. So what is the, Brandon, what is the last date that I can mail back in those ballots to the supervisor of elections?
We recommend that people get their ballots into the mail 2 weeks before Election Day. The supervisor has to receive the voted mail ballot by 7 p.m. on November the 3rd, which is Election Day. We think that given how we've seen the mail in the state of Florida recently, that the October 19th is a good time to get that in the mail. If you can't get it in the mail by October 19th, we recommend one of two things. Either plan to drop it in one of the drop boxes at an approved Dropbox location. And again, you can go to iwillvote.com/FL to find out where those are near you. Or just plan to vote in person during early voting.
Okay, so what are my options for in-person voting?
Good question. You can either vote during early voting at an early voting location anywhere in your county, or you can go to your assigned polling place on Election Day, November 3rd. On Election Day, the hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. During early voting, the hours vary by county. And guess what? You can go to iwillvote.com/FL to find out what the hours are in your county.
Thank you, Brandon and Reverend Dr. Alfonso Jackson. If there's anything I learned today is all your questions can be answered at iwillvote.com. And we want everybody to have already voted well before Election Day. If you had some unforeseen circumstance that stopped you, then yes, November 3rd, we would like you to vote socially distanced and responsible, but we would like to have all our votes banked well before Election Day and no later than the early voting period. Thank you both for an interesting and engaging conversation around voter protection. Remember, we have to turn out the vote and protect it. And now we're going to transition to the next part of our program. Thank you so much, Brandon and Reverend Dr. Alfonso Jackson.
You're welcome.
Greetings. I'm State Representative Chevron Jones. This is the most important election in the history of our country.
In order to make sure that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win this election
and begin to build back our country better, we need every Black voter to vote early and in force.
So today, in honor of National Black Voter Day,
and to honor the work of our civil rights heroes,
like the late Congressman John Lewis, who fought tirelessly for us to have the right to vote,
we're asking you to take these necessary steps to vote. Number 1,
register to vote before October 5th by going to iwillvote.com.
2, sign up to vote by mail.
It's easy. Call your supervisor of election to make sure you receive your ballot.
And once you receive your ballot, fill it out right away and send it back.
But don't forget to sign the envelope and seal it.
Number 3, speaking of plan, make one. If you don't know how you're going to vote, make a plan today.
What does that mean? I want you to plan to either vote by ballot, by mail, or vote early, or vote on election day.
And lastly, encourage everyone you know to vote. It's just as simple as that.
If we do these 4 things, we can ensure victory on November 3rd.
The time for our voice to be heard is on Election Day, November 3rd. On November 3rd, we get to say that Black lives matter and Black jobs matter.
And let's make sure the Black vote is counted.
Now we have a special guest. Hello there.
Hello, how are you doing, Karen?
I am wonderful. I'm going to call you by your name on the screen instead of the popular name that so many love you for. Welcome, Omari Hardwick.
Thank you, I appreciate you. As all of my fellow panelists said today, starting obviously with the incredible Mama Freddie, known to the world as Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, on behalf of her and all that she believes in me and in my voice, I want to say thank you. First and foremost, I'm humbled to be asked to be a part, to impart my love, my wisdom, my voice. So thank you, Karen, for having me. And thank you, good people, not only of this country, for it truly is named one nation under God for a reason. Perhaps that reason has not always shown itself to be that which we would believe the fruits of not only our labor as a magnanimous people, as a multifaceted people, as a diverse people, as a multicolored people. We haven't always known that to be true, where we felt as though we were one nation. I believe us truly to be at a precise moment. We know that the election is as precise in its necessity as any prior election, or perhaps any election that will come post this moment. Joe Biden said it best in his book. He's written many a book at this point, but that first one in 2014, or one of a litany of books that he's written, he said it best when he said the precision is key and family is key. It starts within our homes. It starts obviously with that which we've all learned today, which is we can represent our families starting at the age of 18. We can represent those things, those feelings that we have. I don't just speak from the sentiment of being an artist, because we know that Omari gets paid not only as Ghost in my feelings, but various characters that I played. But I also speak about just a citizen. You know, people often ask me when they meet me, Karen, they say, yo, I can't place it, but who are you? And I say, I'm just my mother's son. You know, at the beginning of the day and at the end of every Sunday, I'm just my mother's son, who happens to be the daughter of a grandparent, who happens to be the grandparents of Omari, and they have set their feet in a linear motion in a very proactive way for this country's betterment, and have included me in that desire for their legacy to be spoken about. It has to come through the veins of me, and then of course my children. So I'm here to remind the world, particularly those of us colored and Black, colored and brown, particularly those who wonder whether their vote matters. Not only does it matter, perhaps more than ever, but if you feel that voting for yourself matters, even in a debate, whether in second grade or whether in 12th grade of high school, if you would bet on yourself, if you would vote on yourself, then equally, you must vote. You have to have it. There is not but many opportunities for us to use a microphone of major significance. I know it's harder for my younger fan base to hear that, because they're like, yeah, I got a microphone every day. I'm on social media. It affords me a microphone, but that is not of major significance within the grand scheme of things. But to vote, and to know that within the parameters of that registration period, you have but what, till October 5th to do so. Your vote can count tomorrow, and that's huge. I mean, literally, that's less than 24 hours away. Your vote can count. So register to vote, either at iwillvote.com, iamavoter.com can give you information as well. And so it's imperative. Any of my colleagues who've worked with me either in front of the camera or behind in respective jobs that I've done, namely, to Karen's point, that last job of note, that being Power on Stars, there are many, a colleague again, that are lending their voice today, that will lend their voices tomorrow, that will continue to lend their voice as the former professor of FAMU University, which is no stranger to my family. My older brother went to Florida A&M University. As he spoke about, you know, we have until October the 5th to do so. So, and you gotta vote Joe. Joe said it best. Make back America. Make it back to that place where we knew it to be, but make it better going forward.
We're going to build it back together.
We're going to build it back. Make it back to that place where we once knew, and then make it better than it once was, than our grandparents knew it to be. For him to bring on Senator Representative of not only of California, but also in terms of the nation going forward. And that means the voice of women first and foremost. For there is no man who goes as far as his woman behind him or next to him, which is probably more astutely stated, goes. And that holds true for, of course, Dr. Biden, and that being Jill Biden, the wife of Joe Biden, and equally in his running mate, and that being Kamala Harris. Shout outs to Jamaica, shout outs to Howard University, shout outs to Southeast Asian, shout out to Black America, Black Lives Mattering at a high level. And I'm super proud to be able to support her, to be able to imbue whatever support she might want from me in the future, that she might want from my family. And again, being somebody that believes in the middle of America, that being the working class part of America. The people that put money in my pocket to therefore put milk and food on my table, on Brave and Nova's table. It's always been, as much as, you know, Bruce Springsteen sings about, he of course sings about America. And not only does he sing about it, but his fan base, according to all of us who've always supported someone like Bruce Springsteen or the likes, a man who believes in the middle of the country. I think that we go as far as the middle of the country goes. Donald Trump has proven time and time again to be of hypocrisy, but perhaps none more than in his statement early on at the onset of his campaigning, which he said, "I am here for the poor. I am here for Americans." But you haven't proven that to be the case from day one, and it's still not the case. You're here for the executors over corporations, over executive positions, even higher than the executors. Those that are Wall Street investors, you know, they're no stranger to me because I meet them often because of the position I'm presently in, Karen. But at the end of the day, my greatest fan base is the person that's like, "Yo, you made me feel like you cured cancer," and all I did was you know, state something that was written by a writer or screenwriter and stated it within whatever way I can state it, and then it's called show or TV. I'm not curing cancer literally, but Joe Biden has figured out from a health standpoint, from a financial standpoint, how to amalgamate the two, how to get education back to where it needs to be, how to allow us all to have a voice going forward, again, in all colors, in all genders, in all respective walks of life. It truly is one nation again under God. And we haven't necessarily been that. And that's been a sore spot for me. I came to this earth in 1974. He came to Senate in 1973, a year before me. He served 36 years for Delaware. He served it at a top-notch level. He then becomes the 47th vice president of our country next to President Obama, and does all that he does to get to a place now where he can go knock knock and Kamala can say, "Who's there?" And he's like, "It's me, and I'm asking you to come join me." And that's just an amazing thing for us to be able to, as you said, as his slogan states, to make it what it should be. You know, it's not necessarily ever been America the Great for all of us under that umbrella.
Right.
So for there to be this slogan prior that said, "Make America Great Again," the problem with that, Karen, is it hasn't always necessarily been great for all of the people under that auspices.
Well, what's really great is that you're using your platform. I've always said when our artists, our celebrities, our athletes, and particularly our hip hop community really start to speak up and be the voice for the generation, and they really help the young understand that it is cool to pay attention to politics. It is necessary to pay attention to politics. The seismic change begins. So I want to applaud you and commend you for not only, you know, grasping the issues as eloquent and stating them as eloquently as you did, but also really taking the time to really use your platform. So many could do the same, and I think so many will follow your lead. And we can't thank you enough for being here today because this is being live streamed. So I'm going to get cool points as an auntie, but most importantly, I'm going to get, we're all going to get more and more young people, which are an essential part of this equation to take us over this finish line. So we couldn't thank you enough. Omari, I want to say Ghost, but I won't, but I just did. I can't.
You can say it for the young people, Karen. Just go ahead and say it.
What's exactly for the young people? I had to say it.
You guys to vote. Omari is asking you guys to vote. A friend of Karen and Mama Freddie, and that being Frederica Wilson, is asking you guys to vote. The Biden family is asking Omari to ask you guys to vote, but that was easy. That was an easy tug for me. They didn't even have to ask me twice. Again, it's your ghost, whatever you want to call me. I just need you guys to pay attention to what I want equally as much as you want it, and that's for this country, which we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. We want it to be as good as the Native Americans thought it to be when they set foot on this soil. So you make sure you vote for everybody that never got an opportunity to do so prior. You 18-year-olds and up, vote, and then holler at me in the middle of the street and we'll party after we vote.
Amen. Thank you and God bless. I'm going to take that next step and thank you again. Please stay with us. I'm going to do a final pitch. I can't say much more better than what you just did, but I want to thank you to all the powerful guests that spoke today, our Congresswoman, our State Senator Thurston, our State Senator Powell, and our two state reps, Joseph and State Rep Anika Omfroy, our Reverend Dr. Alphonsus Jackson Sr., our co-director for voter protection, Brandon Peters, and none other than Omari Hardwick that took his time to make sure he made an impassioned plea to all of America, embracing representing all of our stripes and all of our colors. We know that Vice President Joe Biden is going to empower Black America. We just heard about all the ways that the Biden-Harris administration will build back the economy better with historic investments in our communities. And we know, Uncle Joe, as some of you call him, we know Joe Biden has our back. We now need to have his back and help him get elected. We need to realize the fierce urgency of now. And we know in a razor thin state, the purplest of states, which is in Florida, where elections are won by a 1% margin, every vote counts. People need to know how, where, and when they can vote. So you should know by now. Go to iwillvote.com to make your plan to vote. There are less than 50 days until the election. We need everyone to activate and get engaged in the campaign. Join a sister-to-sister phone bank in your state. It's time to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president of these United States on Tuesday, November 3rd. Black voters will change the direction of this country. Let's turn up and turn out the vote. Thank you, Omari Hardwick, and everyone. Go vote, everyone.
Love and happiness. Oh, love and happiness. Oh. Hey, hey.